So we've got a lot in common, but our shared passion around this topic today, which is about how do we literally transform our go-to-market strategy by solving the right customer problems? And that seems like such a basic thing to say, right? We obviously know the customer is the hero. The customer is, none of us are going to say we're not customer obsessed or customer focused, and we're always solving their problems. But we're going to break that down to the problems that exist and get in our way to do that inside of our organizations, right? But I already said a lot, but I want to make sure that I give you just a moment to expand.
A long time ago, I wrote a blog called The Problem with Problems. It's so old, I can't even find it anymore. But when I was consulting, which I was doing for more than a decade prior to taking my current CMO role, one of the first things we would do is we would workshop the problem. And I would simply ask a group of executives, typically in smaller startups. So you would think there'd be more alignment, right? Like, what is the big problem that you solve for customers? And at the end of that, I would just say, give a few examples, right? I'd say, like, for manufacturing companies that have to improve profit margins, yet are faced with rising costs and can't control them. That's a problem, right? Or someone who can't do something. And I would show an example or two and I'd say, okay, now everyone independently write down a problem statement. And then we go through those. And at the end of it, inevitably, I almost said this without even thinking, congratulations, you get the same score all my other clients do, which is a C minus. Now, it's kind of a little bit courageous to say that in front of it because this is the first workshop usually that I've done. And I only maybe know the CEO or the CMO. And to say that, grade them as a C minus as an executive team, first thing you ever do. And I say, but it's okay because that's how everyone does. And there's really three mistakes, I think, that people make. And the first one, which is the biggest one, is they confuse what they do with the problem they solve. So we create great, glasses with perfect prescription acuity and thinness versus we help people see without weighing down their faces, right? So, what is the problem versus the solution? That's the first thing. I think the second thing is they either aim too high or too low, right? And the metaphor I like to use on this is they either say, we solve world hunger or we sweep the crumbs off the table. The first one, nobody believes because very few people have the credibility to solve this massively huge problem. And then the second one is like, nobody cares because it's so small. And so it's finding that sweet spot, that just right. It's kind of like, the three bears, right? This bed is just right. It's not too hot, not too cold. Maybe we solve the problem of how to feed low-income children who don't have stable home lives in tri-state area. You get specific, but still that's a big problem, but it's not so big that it loses credibility. So what you want to do is you want to go to your customer and say, the problem we solve for you is something that's big enough for you to care about, but you're not going to just laugh me out of the room, right? And I do a lot of work with cybersecurity companies, and I'll let this company remain nameless, even though they don't exist anymore. And I did some work with them. They did great. They got an IPO, they got rolled up into another company, great liquidity for all the shareholders. And then they decided their slogan was reinventing security. And that's when I knew they were heading into trouble because what does that mean? Like, it's just so big. And so this whole thing of getting into that sweet spot of a problem that matters, but you also have the credibility to solve. The third thing is they just don't know. And they all have varying views. You get 5 people, you get 6 different problem statements. Now, usually you can tease out a problem from those, but if an executive team can't even articulate the problem they solve, you got a problem right there.